What is going on, guys? It is time for another Friday Night Live. What is up? What is up? Man, I have misplaced my earphones, my headphones, but I guess that's okay. I don't really need them. Oh, goodness. How's everybody doing today? I'm excited. This is going to be fun. KRDP, what's up, man? What's up? James, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, from Pennsylvania. Welcome. Sauceman, what's up? Joseph Earn, how you doing, man? Goodness. Why is this always the same time as Rudd? Because originally mine were at 9 o'clock. Alex started teaching a couple of years ago, or last year, and he put his to 9, and then he quit doing them. And so I went back and I changed mine to 8 so I could, accommodate him, or I was just being a friend with him. Anyway, and so then he started doing them again at 9 o'clock, and I didn't find out about it for a while, and I had already set plans to do this at 9. It's just easier to do it at 9, so I'm just going to keep it the way it is. Is what it is. We'll just have to keep doing them at the same time. His is a pretty good one tonight, though, so if you guys leave and go watch him, it ain't going to hurt my feelings. Roland, what's up? Addison, how you doing, man? Crappy Kev, what's up? Let's see. Julian, James, how you doing? Let's see. All right, let's get everything rocking and rolling. Not really a whole lot going on. I'm getting ready to do a few little photo shoots and stuff for some sponsors this next week. Jordan, my son, has a tournament on Gunnersville next weekend, a high school tournament. And so we're going to do a little bit of pre-fishing tomorrow, so I'll be on Gunnersville tomorrow. Currently fishing the KBF Challenge tournament here in Georgia, and I'm sitting in first right now with 104.25 inches, I believe, or 104.5 inches. So doing pretty good. Caught some really good fish. I only fished 2 days, and I caught some giants, a 22 3/4, a 22.5, and a couple of 20s. So got some pretty good. Hey, there's Damon. He's in second. Dude, I didn't go fishing today, Damon. I went in the big boat filming. So, but yeah, definitely, dude. I got 104.25 inches now. You got 2 inches to make up. Sorry, brother. Sam's Holly, dude, thanks for the $100, man. You're awesome. Holy cow, it's getting cranking early. Dude, I appreciate that so much. You just don't even know. Oh, thanks, brother. Sauce Man, thanks for the $5. He says, any tips on removing treble hooks without tearing up the fish's mouth? Good pair of pliers, and then grab them down in the turn and then pop it loose. You just got to do one at a time, dude. You don't tear them up too bad unless they take it really deep. So, man, Sam, thanks for the $100. Golly, look at that mess. Dang. Unreal. I still don't understand why people would donate or give me money. I do this because I love it. So, Paul Terry from Illinois, how you doing, man? Brent Coleman, Aries. I'm not even going to pronounce your name. That's awesome. What do you think about the cicadas coming out, and what baits would be good? We get cicadas every several years. We get a whole bunch of them. I've never seen a bass eat one on the water. I've seen bluegill come up and peck at them, but I've never seen a bass eat one on the water. So I don't know. I'm not really concerned about it. I like throwing a buzz bait when they're out, but that's about it. So, goodness. Donald Toma, how you doing? Damon says, rub it in. Yes, sir. See, Damon is, I fish with him. We fish next to each other. We fish the KBF Challenge tournament against each other every month. And I don't mind him. I mean, we'll share the water. We'll make the same cast, everything else. But his goal is to beat me once. This year, he wants to beat me. And I'm not going to make it easy on him. I want him to beat me too, but I'm just not going to make it easy on him, because if he works hard and then beats me, think of how much better that would make him feel. So I'm trying to make you feel good, Damon. I really am. Take it the way you want. That was kind of funny. Dang. Let's see. Bought a 200 St. Croix yesterday, a medium extra fast 668. Did I mess up? Because I'm pretty sure I should have gotten a medium heavy for an all-around rod for my nephew. The only time that I would say you messed up is if he likes to fish like 3/8 ounce Texas rigs and jigs and that kind of stuff. A medium heavy or a medium fast is great for spinnerbaits and for crankbaits, for topwater, not frogs, but like spooks, treble hook baits. It's really good for like 1/4 ounce shaky heads and that kind of stuff. So no, and Cincos, you can throw a Cinco on it, all kinds of stuff. A lot of baits can be thrown on a medium extra fast. That's one of my favorite all-around rods. I used to use it a lot more than anything else back when I fished Clark's Hill and fished a lot of the clear lakes because I love to downsize. But yeah, dude, you'll be fine. He'd enjoy it. And then his next one probably needs to be a medium heavy, but let him fish with that one for a while. So I caught a 3-pounder today with a bladed tail, so they're spawning. Yes, they are. I'm actually catching mine deep, and they're spawning, or deeper than what everybody else is fishing. That's why we're catching bigger ones. So we're pulling out to 8, 9, 10 feet. I caught one in 9.5 feet of water today, and she was spawning. All depends on water clarity and the water temperature. It really does. So. Oh, Shooter TG says it's his first time making a Friday Night Live. That's awesome, man. Welcome. So, and if you guys haven't already, if you're watching this for the first time and haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and then hit the little bell. And welcome everybody who's joining me through my podcast. So, Sam, are you still donating 100? Oh my gosh, dude. Are you kidding me? $300? Holy, I don't know what to do. He says, Gene, do you ever get out and give classes to youth in club settings? If so, what is your appearance fee? High schools I do for free. Colleges I do have a fee. And so that's the difference. So now if I got to travel a long ways, I usually ask for a travel expense, but I don't. My seminars to high school kids and high school teams and stuff like that, I'd never charge. So what are the best baits for muddy water? Dude, I got a video about how to fish muddy water, but I'm going to go through them real quick. A black back chartreuse with a black back square bill crankbait, a chartreuse or a chartreuse and white spinnerbait, or chatterbait or any kind of a moving bait like that, and a black and blue creature bait or jig that you're going to flip really, really close to shallow cover, because when it gets muddy, I don't know what my focus is. What is going on with my focus? I don't know what's going on with the focus on this camera today. Giving me fits all day. But anyway, the bass get really, really shallow and they get real tight to cover when it's muddy. And so that's one of the biggest keys to understand is move shallow and throw to stuff that you can see and they'll be sitting on it. So Logan Tate, the beard threw me off. How do you guys think? It's what I'm at. I'm not quite at 6 months. I think I am November, December, January, February, March, April, May. Yeah, I'm at 5 months growing this thing out. So Sam, you got to stop, dude. Man, I'm gonna have to name my next baby after you if you keep this up. How can I set up a time for you to come out and give a class to my high school team? Get with me on Facebook. Is probably the best way we can do it. Where I can't remember where you live. Is it in Alabama, I think. Tony Baker, thanks for the $10. Best rod for A-rigs. I'm tired of watching my rigs go flying without my line. It's $30 every time. It probably is more your line than anything. If you're throwing them on Baitcaster or throwing it on braid, you're wrong. Throw it on 20 to 25 pound test fluorocarbon. You have enough stretch, so if you backlash, it doesn't break off. The braid will break off. I got to change my anyway. Y'all just gonna have to deal with my focus issues. I am not understanding why it's trying to focus on my background. But yeah. And then with the rod, for mine, I like to keep them as light as I can. So I'm using 1/8 ounce jig heads. And I'm throwing it on a jig rod, a 7'4" heavy is what I'm throwing it on. I don't like to fish an Alabama rig, but when I do, that's how I fish it. So All right. Garrett Haynes. I'm fishing Lake Chickamauga tomorrow. Would you rather fish Wolf Tever or around Harrison Bay Marina from a kayak? Dude, that's hard. I don't know. I'd probably fish Wolf Tever Creek is where I would fish. I haven't been up there in a year. So why is it focusing on? I think it sees that picture over here and it's focusing on that picture. That is so jacked up. All right, let me do something different. Let's move you closer. Tighten down screws. Let's try that. All right. Yeah, I was filming right here with this setup today, filming a video about kayak bass fishing tournaments, and I had the same problem with it focusing in and out. And this is $1,000 camera. So Northeast Indiana. Okay, yeah, we'll set something up. Definitely. I'm heading west in June, I believe. Might be able to do it earlier than that, though, because I'd love to make a roundabout trip to a couple of lakes in Texas. So, Jimmy Potter, what would you throw? 62 degree, 5 to 6 feet visibility. 62 degrees, 5 to 6 foot visibility. I'd be throwing a chatterbait and a spinnerbait, and this time of the year, some type of a square bill crankbait. They're up shallow. They're getting ready to spawn at 62 degrees. They're cruising the banks, looking for a place to spawn, that kind of stuff. So, and they're going to be pretty aggressive. If there's no wind or anything else, flip a creature bait around cover. Do you have any tips to avoid catching a bowfin? I don't. I love catching them. Dude, I absolutely love catching a bowfin. I need to get a new camera stand as well. They're a blast. My favorite bowfin that I've ever caught, I was in a really super shallow lake, literally like 2 foot of water. You could see forever. And I was paddling this way in my kayak, and I look and I see a bowfin swimming away from me. And I just reached down and grabbed my frog rod and flipped it over my shoulder backwards, 2 pops, and set the hook on that bowfin and fought him in. It was an absolute blast. Biggest one I've caught was 9 pounds. It was, you can't even see my arms. It was long. It's an old picture, but it's somewhere in my archives. So I use cut mackerel, ocean mackerel for bowfin. That makes sense. Yeah, I hear a lot of people catch them on cut baits. I like catching them on frogs, though. Hey, what's up, buddy? Months ago, you said you'd be coming a clock here when the Topwater is on. Let me know so I can bump into you. Oh, heading to Clark's Hill when the Topwater is on. Yeah, I'll probably be there next month. I got to go to South Carolina this next week, but I'm not going to be able to swing down to Clark's Hill. So, Sam, you got to stop, dude. Man. Thanks for the donos last week too, brother. You just don't know, man. That's just nuts. I can't believe there's be anybody in this world that would donate that. Oh, golly. Tim Vaughn, thanks for the $5. He says, would a four-mile paddle be worth it on a kayak tournament to get away from people planning for a tournament next week on McGee Creek, Oklahoma? It all depends on when I'm making a long run, whether it be in my motor on my, with the motor guide or whatever. I always try to make sure that I have enough time to fish. So if I'm going to paddle 4 miles, if the wind is in my favor, great. If the wind's not in my favor, ain't no way in heck I'm going to paddle. It all depends on the wind, and you're taking a lot of risks because if it's in your favor going out there, it may not be in your favor getting back. And so you really got to pay that much attention. I mean, I couldn't underestimate the importance of a motor when it's windy, but a lot of tournaments don't allow motors. It has to be manually powered, but plan it accordingly and plan it to the weather and the wind, and you should be able to. 4 miles is not a bad deal if the weather's great, but if it gets screwy, dude, it's tough. So, any tips on largies spawning on rocks in green water? I mean, same thing I'd do anywhere else. Throw a moving bait try to bump it on the rocks and try to get them to get a reaction strike if they're spawning on there. See, when they're spawning, I don't like to bed fish. And I filmed a video about that today, matter of fact. I don't like to bed fish. I can do it. I was really good at it when I was younger, you know, in my early days of bass fishing. But I prefer staying off the bank and fishing a moving bait or a reaction bait, because I can bump that reaction bait off of something and get the females to bite. And I'm not wasting my time flipping and pitching at the same thing for 30, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Dallin is my nephew, you guys. He says, HOA lady got mad at me for using my baitcaster. She asked me what it was, and I said, pivot rod, just to mess with her. And she said, yeah, that rod's too long. Dude, you guys got some crazy HOA people. I talk to your dad about that all the time. His dad's my little brother. Oh my gosh, y'all got some nutty HOAs. I'm so glad I moved out of a neighborhood and into the country. So, Mark Canterbury, how do we donate? You go to Facebook or go to YouTube and watch it on YouTube, and then down at the bottom you have a little thing called Super Chat. I think it looks like a money symbol. You click on it, and that's where you can donate. So, gosh almighty, Sam. Gosh, man. I'm not even going to look and see how much you've donated tonight. You're freaking amazing. I'll lose my ever-loving mind if I try to count that up. Any tips on? Oh, I already read that one. What's up, Fluke? What's your recommended topwater lure for a beginner to experiment with this season? A frog. If you've got now, let me go back. A frog, if you're fishing a lake that has a lot of shallow cover, like grass and laydowns and stuff like that, a frog is great. If you're fishing a lake like what I have here in my hometown that has no shallow cover and nothing, you're better off throwing something like a walking bait, like a spook. Something, it's called walking the dog is what it's called, but just throw like a spook or something out into a little bit, you know, open water, but not out in the middle of the lake. But just have one of those handy, so when you see the fish starting to blow up, you can throw it at them. But it all depends. But like I said, if you've got shallow cover in the lakes you're fishing, just get a hollow body frog like a Spro frog or the Trash Panda from 13 Fishing, and you'll be just fine. Black Bass Angler, what's going on, girl? I haven't seen you. Actually, you were on it last time, 2 weeks ago. Should you target spots during a tournament or just focus on smalls and largies? Depends on the lake. So and I'm thinking about Lake Lanier here in Georgia. Lake Lanier here in Georgia used to be an amazing largemouth lake until the spots took over. You know, once they got really established, there's fewer and fewer largemouth. You can go looking for largemouth, but I would catch 5 spots first because they're easier to catch. And if you're in a lake that has big spots, don't go fishing for largemouth. You know, Lanier's got giant spotted bass, and you'll win with five spots on Lanier. But if your lake has a bunch of small spotted bass, try to catch four or 5, and then go find largemouths in the backs of the pockets and the backs of the creeks up in the shallow water where the spots are not typically going to be. So smallmouth's a whole different ballgame. I don't fish for a lot of smallmouth, but if you got big smallmouth, that's the deal. MD Basson, what's going on, man? Cynthia, it's 46-degree water. What would you fish? Man, you're up north. 46 is still really cold. It hasn't hit that magic 53 degrees yet where they start to get really active. So I'm going to fish primarily 2 baits, a jig, a brown jig, or usually clear water up there. So a brown jig or a clear colored jerkbait, or a jerkbait that when you hold it up to the sun, you can see the sun through it, is basically what I'm going to be throwing. So Chris Lanky, thanks for the $5, man. Let me find your comment. There it is. Ordered my first kayak in SS107. Been watching your care video and want to know what size PVC you used on your storage rack. I think I used 3-inch, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go out and measure, but I'm sure I used 3-inch because it's not nearly as big as the 4-inch. So I would not have used 2-inch either. It'd be too flimsy. But schedule 40. Johnny Ariel says, taking your advice, creature baits, I absolutely stink at fishing them. That's all I'm bringing tomorrow. Good. Bring at least 2 colors, a green pumpkin or some type of a natural color and a black and blue, and flip those 2 around, dude. You'll be just fine. You'll be fine. Jordan actually outfished me this evening when we went out filming and caught 2 on a creature bait. But I did catch one about 4.5, 5 pounds. Donald, I think Sam's credit card company will call him up after spending $900 on YouTube. Dude, I hope he didn't donate that much. I'm going to absolutely die. I'll check after this. I don't even want to check right now because I'll lose it, and this whole deal will be, this whole Friday Night Live will have to be over. Rick Clem, hey Sam, good for you for being successful at whatever you do. That's awesome. Okay. Is it okay to catch the same bed bass 8 times? Probably not. So funny story. Last month in the KBF Challenge tournament, which is the monthly kayak tournament that I fish on Kayak Bass Fishing. My big fish for the tournament I caught on the very last day of the month last month. It was 22 3/4 inches, 7 and some change. So I'm fishing day before yesterday with Damien, who's on here, and I caught the same exact fish yesterday that I caught 2 weeks ago at the end of the month on the same stump. And I'm pretty sure she was spawning there. It was way out in the middle of the lake, pretty shallow, but not too shallow. But I got up, I grabbed the fish, and she has a little cut in her under her lip where somebody put a culling tag in her once during a tournament. And I'm like, no way, this can't be the same fish. So I measure and everything else, and sure enough, and I look at the picture from last month, and it's the same dang fish. Pretty cool. Colby B. All right, Gene, our fishing techs have moved up to spawn. They've pushed off due to a cold front. Good baits to follow up on spawn and pre-spawn cold fronts. Dude, I better get Jordan editing that video. I shot it literally 2 hours ago. I shot a video on what to do, and I actually do this all the time. But pull off the bank. If you've got a fish finder, go all the way to the bank and then turn around and work your way out, and you'll see it'll start, the bank will start to taper and taper, and all of a sudden you'll see a little drop. Remember that depth and fish that drop or fish that depth all the way around. If they were spawning on stumps, a lot of times they'll pull out into the deeper water straight out from that stump. If they're spawning on docks, they're going to come straight out from the dock. Or my favorite is seawalls. If they're on seawalls, they like to spawn on anomalies like turns in the seawall or posts or stuff like that. If you throw straight at that spot and come straight out towards deep water and fish it all the way to the boat, that fish will be somewhere between your boat and that spot. They just pull out and wait for the temperature or the weather to get right, and then they get back in, is what they do. And so just all you gotta do is just fish a little bit further out from where they should be spawning. What are the ideal Ned rig colors you recommend? I like the word. The funny thing is I like the fact you use the word ideal, because my favorite color Ned rig in the Z-Man TRD is called the Deal. Is the color I use probably 99% of the time. It's a laminate green pumpkin on top, pearl on the bottom, is what I fish most of the time. If I'm not fishing that one, I'm fishing one straight green pumpkin, because I don't fish the Ned rig in dingy water. I always fish it in fairly clear water. And so that's the reason I'm always using either one of those two colors. David Carlson, what baits should I throw on a sunny versus overcast days in the spring? On sunny days, it all depends on the wind. It's not just one thing. It has to be a combination of all the variables in order to pick the perfect bait. But I'm going to give you kind of a roundabout thing. On sunny days, the bass can see better. You want baits that they don't get a good look at, or baits that look very natural. Okay, or you're flipping something in to scare the crap out of them and get them to bite. On cloudy days, you can get by with moving baits. You can get by with a lot of different stuff that doesn't really look natural. That's the rule of thumb. If it's a windy day, consider it a low light deal, and you can, you can use spinnerbaits and chatterbaits and stuff like that. So. Mark Canterbury, man, thanks for the $10, brother. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Todd, thanks for the $5. What's your question? He says, thanks for the great kayak content. My first kayak will be here in a week or two. Got my PFD and light pole ready. Just waiting for the boat. That's awesome, man. Holy cow, you're gonna love it. Absolutely, you're gonna love it. It's a good start, and eventually you're gonna want to get a big boat, but that's further down the road. I love my kayak though. See, Cobb, thanks for the $20. He says, hey Gene, name's Jacob. I've been watching you since like 2000. Oh wow, since 2000 subscribers, and I just wanted to say the entertainment you put out is really good. I never stop learning. Keep doing what you do. Thanks, man. I never considered myself entertaining though. Oh, I always like it when I get those comments from guys like, you need to catch more fish. Shut up and start fishing. I'm like, dude, you're watching the wrong dang channel if you want to be entertained. But anyway, thanks for the $20, brother. Appreciate it. Antonio, do you still like yellow on the belly of a frog? Because I know I get stuck on a certain color for a while and change it up. I always try one. I always have a frog that has a yellow belly. That's my additional color to white on the bottom, black on the bottom, or green pumpkin. I have so much fun with it, and I catch so many fish on that yellow frog. So it doesn't matter what the top color is, but it's all about the belly. So dang it, I just was halfway reading there we go. It's Cats ask, I'm fishing Lake Champlain tomorrow, and I was wondering how I could trigger high-pressured fish to bite from the bank. A fluke. Seriously, if they're shallow, if your high-pressured fish are shallow, and you want to trigger a bite, jerk a fluke around. The other option is to go small, light line, and fish super, super slow. So like a Ned rig and something like that, or a little finesse worm, and just drag it super slow on the bottom. So let's see, Seth. I don't know what that is. Devin Nations just installed a Motor Guide XI3 on my SS127 this week. Thanks for the YouTube help on that. Can't wait to not have to paddle. Dude, keep your paddle with you. I almost got stuck the other day, or actually last month. I went out, I forgot my paddle. I fished for about 3 or 4 hours. I came back, I went and got my paddle at my house because I only 10 minutes from the lake. So I jumped in my truck, loaded the kayak back up, went back, got my paddle, came back out, went on fishing. About 3/4 of the way through the day, my battery died because I had grabbed the wrong battery. I grabbed the one that I had used a few weeks ago and never put back on the charger. And luckily I had my paddle. Had I not gone home and got it, I'd have been up the lake without a paddle for sure. It'd have been trouble. So, and I think I was the last one on the lake that day too. So, are you brand specific on your soft plastics? No, I'm not. Nope. I have, tons of different 13 Fishings. I got a lot of their new stuff. I've got Zoom. I've got some that I always have, and the ones I really like. I love Missile Baits. I love Zoom, and I've been fishing Zoom for years. What other ones do I have? Z-Man. Trying to go through my drawers of soft plastic that are in my barn, and those are the ones I keep the most of. So. It doesn't matter to me. I don't go off and go buy all the crazy stuff. I just kind of stick to the same, same colors and the same type of lures. And I may try something crazy every once in a while, but that's about it. What's a good trailer for a chatterbait? I was about to do a video on that. I like paddle tails. I like split tails. The ones that were designed for them are like the Blade Minnow from Strike King, the Razor Shad, I believe. I can't remember who makes it. And there was one more. Oh, and just a regular fluke will be good too. So, Brandon Mays, I don't know much about smallmouth, man. I'm not the one to ask. Go to the YouTube channel, Smallmouth Experience. He's probably the best one out there at answering those type of questions. So I catch smallmouth every once in a blue moon. There's just not many around here. So got to ask, your best tourney days are from a boat or a kayak. You got skills at both. So just wondering. Whew. My best tournament days, I've had really good ones. I had good ones back when I fished in a 14-foot John boat with a 8-horse tiller on it. I used to fish pot tournaments on Lake Oconee, and I'd watch these big bass boats go by me. A couple of them were FLW pros and everything. I just had a whole lot of fun fishing those tournaments and taking people's money. Spro, anytime I'm fishing a tournament with my son, whether I'm in a kayak or a boat, I'm having a blast. I just love it, man. Kayak tournaments are amazingly fun, and it has more to do with the brotherhood of kayak fishing than it does anything. We're all friends. It's one of the few things where literally yesterday, I'm the guy that's now in second place. He was in first place at the beginning of the day, and I caught a fish and bumped myself above him. He came over to take pictures of my fish and started fishing the same exact spot I just caught that fish, and I don't care. And that's the way we are. We're not that picky, especially if we're friends, but we're not. We just we fish closer to each other, and we don't get all grumpy like I've seen a lot of bass boat guys. If you're not one of those grumpy ones, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. But anyway, so yeah, dude, it just all depends. It's a lot of fun no matter what. Z-Man Razor Shad. Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it. Fishing on Hope. I want to buy the 13 Fishing Defy Black casting rod for 2-ounce swim baits. Have you used one? I have the original one, and it's great. Actually, I have the original one that throws the 14-ounce swim baits. It's like a broom handle. I mean, you could beat a tree down with that thing. It's so stiff. But I love throwing my 9-inch bull shads on them, and it's good. And when they first gave it to me, I think it was like a $80 swim bait rod. I told them straight up, I was like, guys, I'm going to break this thing. I'm going to try to break this thing and see if it really is as good, because I didn't think they could make a decent swim bait rod with it for $80. It's not the best swim bait rod, but it is a good swim bait rod. So I'd recommend it. So I just ordered a new one, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was the new Fate Black ones that I ordered. I can't remember. Can you get away with a medium heavy for jigs, or should I go get a heavy? I fish most of my regular jigs. If it's not a heavy hooked, heavy covered jig, I fish almost all of them on a 7'4" medium heavy. And so, yes, you can get away with it. 17 to 20 pound test. Most jigs these days, specifically football heads and like any kind of dragon jig, is going to be a lighter wire hook than a flipping jig. So, how do you store soft plastics in your kayak? Plano boxes or bags? I use the KVD speed bags, and I had one right here next to my desk last week, but I took it and put it in my truck. But just the black speed bags is what I use in my kayak. I have 2 different sizes, and I have them labeled, and I've got 2 of them that go in my kayak. So, you guys make sure you hit the thumbs up while you're watching. What are some good trailers to throw on chatterbaits? I just answered that one. Do you ever put trailers on your spinnerbait? I use only one trailer on my spinnerbait, and that's the Zoom split tail trailer. It's a spinnerbait trailer is what it is. I have 2 colors that I carry with me, white and chartreuse, and that's all I ever throw on a spinnerbait. So mainly in it, a lot of times I have a trailer hook, but that doesn't count. That's just another hook. Woo, chatterbait, spinnerbait. What conditions do you throw each? I throw a chatterbait unless I'm fishing like laydowns and timber, and then I'll throw a spinnerbait. That's it. I catch many more fish on a chatterbait than I do a spinnerbait. But a chatterbait's going to get hung up in your laydowns and in your bushes, so I'm going to turn to a spinnerbait for that. or if I need to slow roll something. I have a specific spinnerbait that I throw that has 2 giant willow leaves on there. And I had to have it custom made because nobody makes one like it. But it's a 1/2 ounce. I throw it out, let it sink to the bottom, and I literally can just slowly reel it in. And those blades are so big and that they spin even at the slowest speeds. But that's a rare occasion when I need to use that. What is the biggest mistake you've ever made in a kayak? For me, to avoid it, obviously, the biggest mistake you can make in a kayak is trying to bend over and get something out of the water. That's it. You will, if you bend too far, you will go swimming. And I did that. I dropped a radio. We had radios. We were doing a video shoot, and I had a radio, and I was moving it or doing something, putting it in my PFD or something, and I dropped it in the water, and it went down a little bit, and then it bobbed up. And as it came up, I reached down to grab it, and just as I got to it, it started to sink. So I just reached a little bit further and got this back shoulder over top of the gunnel, and I was going in. Whether I liked it or not, I was going swimming, and I was in gator-infested water in Caddo Lake in Texas. And so I knew that if I continued just to fall in, that the kayak would tilt so much I probably would lose some stuff out of my kayak. So I threw myself into the water, kicked off my Crocs, and got myself back up in using the open water reentry method, and then went and got my Crocs because they float. So, yep, that was dumb. What are your thoughts on round bend trebles versus triple grips on jerkbaits and topwaters? Thank you for all the great content. You do a great job teaching. First of all, thanks, man. Thanks. Let me think. I don't like, for the only time I ever use triple grips is on the front hook of lipless crankbaits, if I remember correctly. And the rest of the time, I like short shanked round beds. The Gamakatsu short shank round beds are probably my favorite. I got away from triple grips because I started to lose more fish on triple grips. And I know it, once you get them hooked, it's hard for them to throw it, but the hard part is getting them hooked on those things, for me at least. So it's kind of how I go. This is a hot topic. David Carlson, how do you feel about live scope? Do you think that it will hurt the fish in the next 10 years or so? I think it will. Honestly, I think it will make it too easy. I know I'm all for it in tournaments. I mean, if one person's got it, though, everybody's going to have it because that is such an advantage. I'm going to put it on my boat. I really am, because I really want us to get to know it and learn it. But I really think that the more people that get it, that don't take care of their fish, don't get them in, take a picture, put them in a live well, or put them back in the water very quickly, I think it's going to hurt. Now, I don't think it'll hurt it so much that it will kill off a ton of fish. I don't know. I just think it makes fishing too easy. So what's my favorite 13 fishing top soft plastic? My favorite two, because they're about the same, is the Invader for flipping, and I love the Joystick for a swimming worm, for a shaky head, for a bunch of stuff. And what was it? The BFF, the finesse worm, or the straight tail worm, saved my butt on a shaky head in a tournament too. So kind of hard to say, but if I had to pick, the Invader and the Joystick are my two favorites. How hard is it to get sponsorship? I mean, to give you my secret. It's not really a secret, but let me give you what I figured out. And I've been doing this for 12 years. And there was a point in time where I went looking for sponsorships, and I got so frustrated that I was like, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not looking for sponsors. And I really don't. I talked to 2 new sponsors this week, but they contacted me. I told myself and made the decision, and actually I'm going to name drop. Mark Zona helped me make this decision. And I decided I was going to make myself so valuable to companies that they would not be able to ignore me anymore. And so that's what I did. I just worked and grinded and worked hard at what I did, and focused on, like I'm focused right now, focused on teaching you guys how to fish. to the point where they came to me, and they still come to me. And then I try my darndest to keep those relationships going. One way or the other, I try to keep those relationships going. And it's harder and harder the more I go. I'm a very forgetful person. Many of you guys know that. I forget so easy. I have to write down everything. And so that's the trick. Make yourself valuable to them before they can even remotely become valuable to you. And you got to work for it, dude. Don't stop. Just grind. Dennis Conley, I went with my grandson yesterday. He only fishes for largemouth and caught his first crappie. He had to bring it to me to identify it. That's awesome, man. That's great. Poor kid. He's so deprived. I'm kidding, but that's funny. Skylar Barron, hey, man, do they still sell that shorter frog rod? No, they don't. From the video you made a few days back, I believe it was a Muse Black. I can't find that shortest one anywhere. Nope. They stopped making it. They pulled it out of their lineup. They had to reduce. That was a huge lineup of rods in the Muse, and they just had to reduce it down. And that was just one of the models that they pulled. So I have 5 of them, and I guard them. That may be the only thing I take with me if the house catches on fire. So it's yeah, I love those things. I'm going to try to get them to make something similar. Maybe not something as short, but I'd love to see what I can do about getting them to make maybe one of the lesser expensive rods, a short heavy action rod. That way they don't have as much money in each rod, and they're able to hang on to them a little bit longer. Wanting to buy a used bass boat, any tips? The biggest tip I can tell you is get that boat before you pay for it and take it to a mechanic and have him check it. Even if you got to leave it overnight for a couple of nights, take it to a mechanic. Let him run through the whole thing. Let them check the boat, make sure all of the functions and everything else work, and then they'll give you a list of what needs to be fixed or what's not working properly. And then you'll know whether it's worth the money or not, or the heartache. So, best advice on a retrieve for fishing in Texas rig. This time of the year, for pre-spawn and post-spawn and that kind of stuff, just this time of the year, I'm doing a lot of hopping and shaking is what I'm doing. When it gets super hot here in the South and I'm fishing offshore structure in the summertime, I'm dragging it super slow. But most of the time I'm flipping the cover and hopping it away from cover. Like, let me give you, for instance, whenever you're throwing to docks or to stumps or things like that, you throw it out, you let it sink to the bottom on a semi-slack line and just watching your line for a jump. And then the first thing you need to do is either shake it or give it one little quick hop where it just barely pops up off the ground. Because a lot of times you'll flip into heavy cover up underneath the dock and a fish will see it, and then they'll follow it to the bottom. And okay, so here's your bait. Fish comes down and just sits there and just stares at it and trying to figure out what the crap it is. And then all of a sudden it either shakes or it hops, and that fish goes whoop and just sucks it in. And it's a reaction strike. He's not feeding. He's just reacting to it before it gets away. He's basically grabbing it with his hands, but he doesn't have hands. He always got his mouth. So, favorite spinning reel. Oh goodness. I like the Creed K. It's only like 60 or 50 bucks or something like that. It's a really good spinning reel. Yeah, that's what I like, man. 13 should be coming out with some new spinning reels soon. I can't wait to try those out, but you know me, I'm not going to say anything about them until I have confidence in them. Can't afford a fishing kayak. Thoughts on inflatables? I started in one. Dude, I got a belly boat before they had kayaks. Before they had fishing kayaks or anything else, I was hauling a belly boat around the trunk of my car when I was a teenager. There's nothing wrong with it. It really isn't. Just get some fins to paddle around because you ain't going nowhere unless you have it. So, but it's been years and years and years. But that's how I started. Definitely. And then save some money for a kayak. You don't need the most expensive one. Just get one that's that fits you. Do I still use a Tokyo rig? Yes, I do. A lot, especially down in Florida, and I use it when I'm flipping grass too. But I just don't have any grass right now to flip, so I haven't fished it in about a month. All right, I'm gonna jump ahead. I know I'm way behind on questions, guys. I'm sorry. I think that's a good comment. Scott Edwards says, I think they should raise slot limits to combat the live scope. Dude, I like that. Not slot limits, but I like to raise the minimum size fish like in a tournament. Like you'd have to have an 18-incher and not a 12 or 14-incher. I like that idea. That's pretty cool. What's your new number one kayak? I still have the SS 127. I have a Motor Guide XI3 on the front. I've been in it the last 2 days. I didn't go out in it today because I went filming with my son, and it's just a lot easier to film in the boat. So, Scott Holmes, I'm not even going to respond to that. He says, when should I trim my beard? Or when am I going to trim my beard? Tristan Case. Oh, he's responding to somebody else. I'm sorry. Thanks, Kristen. I appreciate you. Any tips on feeling the bite on a Carolina rig? Yes. Always try to keep your line semi-slack. So it's got a bow in it, but it's not laying on the water. Okay. And fish it faster than you think you should. I don't like to go, and then leader length, I don't like to go any longer than 20 inches or somewhere around 20 inches. The long ones, they're easier to not feel. But the biggest thing is keep your line. After you drag it, don't drop it to a slack line. Just drop it to a semi-slack line where you get that bow in it. And you'll feel just about every bite. And then take your time before you're not take your time. Set the hook quickly, because 9 times out of 10, they've already got that bait in their mouth. As soon as you feel that tap, whoom, hammer them. And it's a low sweeping hook set. Oh, Sam Still, man, thank you so much. Oh, unbelievable. Gordon Gransden, I almost said grandson. Been looking for that rod forever, Muse Frog rod, but I did find one that works well. Comparing to the Muse is a Kistler 6.9 reel and feel. Yeah, dude, 6.8 is probably my ideal length that I love. And the 6.9 is close enough. That's pretty neat. I'll have to check that one out. Best weight for a tungsten rig or Texas rig, tungsten versus lead, and why? I gave up fishing lead several years ago. And first of all, the trick that I did is I would, from each paycheck from the hospital that I worked at, I'd pull $20 out of each paycheck, and I would go to Academy Sports, and I'd buy $20 worth of tungsten. No matter if I needed it or not, I bought $20 worth of tungsten. I did this for about a year. And before I knew it, I had a very good, well-stocked collection of tungsten lures from most of the weights. And the reason I say tungsten is it has better sensitivity. It's a stiffer, harder metal. And so as you're dragging it and pulling it through stuff, you'll be able to tell easier what it is, whether it's a rock or a stump or grass or anything else, just a lot more sensitive. It is smaller, so the bass, when they clamp down on it, they don't feel it quite as good, but I don't worry so much about that. The biggest thing is just sensitivity. And if you go back and forth between the two, you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about. It's just a lot better feel. You get a lot more vibration and sensitivity up that line and down that rod and in your hand. So, let's see. Let me get a drink of water real quick. My throat's dry. Rodrigo Jose, what's up, man? He says, hello, dude. Have you ever fished a peacock bass, a trihara, trihara, or any other Brazilian fish? I send a hug for Brazilians. And what bait color you indicate me to fish in muddy water? That's awesome, man. Muddy water, I'm always going to fish bright lures or really, really dark lures is what I'm going to do. Nothing natural colored is what I'm going to do in real muddy water. And most fish that are sight fish or feed with find their bait with their eyes are going to be close to tight cover. And I have fished for peacock bass, but those were the ones down in South Florida. My bucket list is to go to Brazil and to fish for peacock bass in Brazil, man. That would be absolutely unbelievable. I'd love it. So, man, consider yourself lucky. There's some amazing fish down there. So thanks for your comment. Thanks for joining me all the way from Brazil. I love it. I love it. I got a bunch of friends that have been down there, and I got several that speak Portuguese, but I'm not one of them. So what is your opinion on wake style crankbaits? Is it a waste? I have topwater and square bills. Is wake style square bill worth it? I have one wake bait that I throw, and I have a box specifically for that wake bait, and I throw it in the dog days of summer, and I catch the crap out of fish in any lake I'm in. It's called the THKO wake bait, and it's a square bill wake bait, but it's got a jig skirt hanging off the back treble hook, and it's got the coolest action, and I catch big fish on it. Literally, the first 9 fish I caught on it were over 5 pounds on a lake that's not supposed to have big fish. So that's why I became such a believer in it. But that's the only time I ever throw one. Now, I have been on lakes where wake baits were really, really good, blueback herring lakes specifically, but I never threw one. I always threw a paddle tail instead and just skimmed it right under the water. So, Crappy, what's the best pound test line? I always throw 6. I always throw 6-pound test. You can get by with 4 or 3, but nothing over 6 pound. Let's see. Here's a good question. Freedom Fishing TV, do you edit your own videos? If not, would you consider contacting me? My son edits my videos, my 16-year-old, and he's really good at it, and I pay him for it. Him and I'm trying to help him start his own content creation business. So I'd love to get some, maybe we could work out a deal for something special. I could sure use somebody with a little bit more skill than he has for a couple of video projects in the near future. So hit me up on Facebook, and we'll discuss that. So I ain't rich though, just know that. Between the lines fishing, I've tossed everything except a harpoon at the fish in my home lake with no success so far. Should I stick it out or try a different lake? If you're losing confidence, go somewhere else. Really, you can't catch fish without confidence. If you got a day where it's perfect weather and you got a little bit of wind on the water and you just gorgeous, gorgeous day, water temperatures getting up in the 60s and everything else, go fish your lake. And then you'll gain more confidence as the bass get happier and happier as the water gets warmer. So, I'm having trouble learning the Baitcaster. Any pointers? Yes, John. I got one. I got a couple. I got a video you need to go watch. I've got 3 different videos on how to cast a Baitcaster. The one I recommend is the one that I did where I taught my nephew how to cast a Baitcaster. It gives you great tips on being able to do it without all the fuss. The biggest one is pull enough line out for a good long cast, plus about another 6 or 8 or 10 feet, and then take a piece of electrical tape and tape your spool up. Just do 1 wrap of tape around your spool and then reel your line back on over top of that tape. And what'll happen is you'll be practicing your cast, and you'll have just enough line to where you'll know that you screwed up and you got a backlash, but not so much that you can't pick it out. So, but watch that video, dude. I've taught. Man, I wish there was some way for me to figure out how many people I've taught how to cast a Baitcaster with those 3 videos. But that would be really neat. I'm a numbers guy anyway, but that would be really, really cool to know. How do you set the hook hard enough from a kayak to drive a very heavy gauge hook through a fish's mouth? I don't fish heavy gauge hooks to start with. But a couple of key things is a power pole on the back. You anchor that power pole down. If I'm in shallow water, especially down in Florida and fishing for those big fish in those grass mats, and I know I'm going to have to set the hook hard, I have the power pole down to keep the boat from moving. But I'll have, if you're fishing like a Texas rig or anything else like that, I'm going to make a video about this soon. But the hooks that I recommend for fishing from a kayak are Gamakatsu G-Finesse flipping hooks. They're a lighter gauge, but the way they treat that metal they do a treatment on it to make it stiffer, so it acts like a heavier gauge wire, but it's not, so you get a better hook set. The light wire flipping hooks are good. Any of them in that G Finesse line is really are good. Another thing is you can upgrade to like braided line if you want to. A lot of guys use braid to a fluorocarbon leader. I have tried it and I do it every once in a while, but I don't like the sound of the big heavy knot going through my guides, even if it's an FG knot. You know, a 60-pound braid with 20-pound fluorocarbon leader is a big knot no matter what you do. So crap, I just saw one about the Bass Pro Shop tournament and I missed it. Where'd it go? There it is. What are your thoughts on the $1 million amateur Bass Pro Shops fishing tournaments? I think it's another money-making scheme from Bass Pro Shops, to be honest with you. I'd love to see how much money they actually make on that. I don't get all into that stuff anyway, so I just kind of halfway look at it. What would you recommend to secure rods to a kayak? I went overboard my first time kayaking and lost $350 combo. Holy cow. So I went on Amazon about 4 years ago and I bought a spool of shock cord is what I bought. And it's just small bungee cord, but I bought a spool of it. And I started to make my own rod tethers. You see all these ones that are all, you know, corkscrew and everything else. That just takes too much time to make. I'm not doing that crap. But you take that thing and you tie one end onto somewhere on your boat or onto a carabiner, a small carabiner. And then tape that knot up so it doesn't come undone. So tape it up with some Gorilla tape. This is the cheap way of doing it. But anyway, that's the part that clips somewhere on your boat. Then about 2 or 3 feet of line of that shock cord, and then do the same thing to a full-size carabiner, one of those cheap ones you get from the Home Depot. And then that goes around your rod in front of your reel. Okay. And make it make sure it goes in front of your reel and under your fishing line. And if you ever go in the water, that carabiner will hang onto your rod and you just be able to pull it back in. That is a cheap way of tethering it. I still do it. I have 2 of them on my black pack right now. And I have 2 rods that I always tether in. So, we got some donations. Hold on a second. Lou Vang, man, thanks for the $5. He says, I might have missed it, but when's the Mikey and Fluke video going to happen? Dude, I don't know. We were going to do it down in Florida, but we never got together. Our schedules never lined up. I was too busy fishing tournaments was the problem. I'll get back a hold of him. We'll do one. We'll definitely do one. I'm really busy the next couple of weeks. But we might be able to meet in Gunnersville. We'll see. I'll get a hold of him. That'd be awesome. I love that dude. Gene, thanks, Gene. Looking for, first of all, Thomas, thanks for the $5. He says, thanks, Gene. Looking forward to USC dominating your dogs and taking the SEC title this fall. I don't even know if I can finish reading it. It's so funny. We'll always support Fluke Master, though. That's funny. Oh, poor fella. Thanks for the $5, Thomas. I appreciate it. Lou, thanks for the $5. Antonio, what do you think about Trocar hooks made by Eagle Claw? I don't like them. I don't like them one bit. Now, I worked in surgery for 20 years. I was an X-ray technician, and I specialized in orthopedic surgery. Okay, so I know what a trocar hook is. I know what it does, and I know that it slices. The problem I had with trocar when they first came out and they were real popular is I used them as a flipping hook, and after about 30 flips of working it through cover, and I was flipping the bank and bluff walls, after about 30 flips, that hook would tear such a large hole in that soft plastic. I had to pull the plastic off, throw it on the deck of the boat, and put another soft plastic on there because it wouldn't stay, the tip wouldn't stay buried in the soft plastic. It cuts a hole, and I don't like it. So that's my problem with trocar hooks. They're great. They penetrate. They do everything that they say they're going to do. The only problem is they put a big hole in your soft plastic, and they become an absolute disaster. So you get hung up a lot. What's my favorite bait to use in the spring? Whichever one the bass want. Right now it's the chatterbait. So it just all depends. It really is. I don't have favorites. I have ones that I prefer and ones that I always have in the boat, but I just let the bass tell me what they want. Y'all ain't going to believe how I've been fishing the chatterbait the next 2 days, but let's wait till this month's over and I've won this tournament, and then I'll talk about how I'm fishing the chatterbait. MD Bass and Mikey Balls. Yes, that's Mikey Balls. It's who we're talking about me fishing with. Russ Dennis, if you're going to have to use braid in clear water, you're going to have to use a fluorocarbon leader, in my opinion. Absolutely. Unless you're flipping grass. And it's going to be clear water, but the grass is going to cover up the line and everything else. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Somebody is blowing up my phone. Oh, it's Hans from Bonafide. Hans Newts is his name. He is the designer of the Bonafide SS-127 and the 107, the engineer that actually, that's his boat. And so that's who I'm shooting photos with next week for Bonafide. So I can't wait. Do you know of any good bank fishing near UGA? I'm an incoming freshman. Go Dogs. Jackson, go to the Georgia DNR's website or Wildlife Resources Division website and look under their fishing tab, and somewhere you should be able to find where it says where to fish, and then you can search by county and search your counties, and it will tell you where all the public little fishing ponds and lakes are in that area. I'm not really sure about that area. I did used to milk cows just south. I grew up in Covington, but my brother-in-law owned a dairy farm up just south of Athens. And I used to, when I was 13, 14, I was milking cows with him, but I never went fishing back then. It was all work. So that's when I realized I didn't like to work hard. Oh, that's a good question. Lucky Gene, what's happening? What is a good rust-proof tackle box for your tackle bag? The new Plano Edge boxes. I know they're a little pricey, but first of all, they're watertight. They're one hand open and close, which I like, but they have a little water wick inside of them that keep your stuff from getting messed up. It dries out the inside of your tackle box, and they're made from a material that is also prevents rust from your hooks. And I love them. They're worth every dime. So that's what I would recommend is get you a couple of, especially for your hook box and your crankbaits, get those Plano Edge boxes. So, all right, we're going to grab one more question. You guys be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So, Devon Nations, what tournaments do you have coming up this month? Are you going to fish bass at Eufaula on the 1st? I am not fishing Eufaula, mainly because we are putting on a benefit tournament or a fundraising tournament for my son's high school bass. Let me say that again. My son's high school bass fishing team on the 1st. And so I'm not going to be able to do that. I may also have to run into Alabama to do a seminar the same day. So we'll find out. So, but yeah, that's the reason I'm not able to do that. But I am fishing the championship in June. The only tournament I'm fishing right now is the KBF Challenge tournament, which is that month-long statewide tournament for Georgia. So, oh, Michael, thanks for the $5 from Dad. We bought 2 used Concept Z reels. What should we check? The only thing I would check with the Concept Z, Mike, and thanks for the $5, would be pop it open and just inspect the anti-reverse bearing is what I would look for. You should be good, though. They're really good. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off of here. Thanks a lot. Sam, thanks for the donations again, man, and everybody else who donated. I am absolutely blown away. Unreal. You guys are awesome. I love you. I do this because of you guys. And hopefully I can keep doing it for a long time. I really appreciate it. Like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water. Go out and catch some fish. Have a great day. We'll see you.